seventh graders. Today we are going to practice percent of change. We are filling out a page in your notebook, but it's not going to be the same as normal notes today. So you do need page 53. 53 is called M7 Practice Percent of Change, so make sure you have that out, and of course a pen or a pencil. Today we are going to learn about what price things were back in the 1970s and compare them to the price that they are today. And this information that I'm going to give you is not just randomly made up. It's actual numbers and data that I researched and found the correct values for. So first, let me show you a list of the items we are going to be dealing with. Hold, please. Here they are. So honestly, I don't know that much more about the 1970s than you do, because actually 1970s, I'm pretty old, but I'm not quite old enough to have lived in the 1970s. I was born in the 80s. So I did have to look up a lot of this stuff, but this list right here is a list of the items. There's 12 items here that we're going to look at what these things cost in the 1970s. So the first thing that this tells you is that this actually is all stuff that existed in the 70s and still exists today. So there are some specific brands, like Jiffy peanut butter is just called Jif now, but it's the same peanut butter. So this is all stuff that, and actually the Vans shoes, they had the very first brand of Vans shoes was called Vans Off the Wall, and they were invented in 1964 and started selling a lot in the 70s. Anyway, so this is the list of items that we will be comparing the price of these items in the 70s to today. And we're going to do so by calculating the percent of change in these prices over time. Okay, so the first thing, just for fun, if you look at page 53, we're going to start with item number 1. And I haven't told you, we're not necessarily going in this order. Okay, so here's the list of all the items it could be, but I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. What I am going to tell you, see how it says item 1 guess, and then item 1 actual, and then you find the percent of change? We're going to guess a little bit just for fun. So I am going to grab a price tag here. Let's start with, I don't know, how about this one? So if I put a little price tag here, I haven't told you the item, but it does say here that in the 1970s, whatever this item was, it cost 79 cents in the 1970s. And today it costs $5.99. I actually looked it up either on Amazon or on my Target app or at Walmart or wherever this thing was sold. I did a little internet research to find out this part, and then I looked up today's actual price. So this is accurate as of right now. So what I want you to do, if you see this is what it was in the 70s and this is what it is right now, which item on this list do you think I'm talking about? And you are going to write your guess. It's just for fun, so there's no pressure, no need to panic. You're just going to write down here, and I'm not even going to write anything there because I don't want to influence your guesses. Take a second right now and write down which item you think this is. You have 10 seconds. Write it down. Are you ready? If not, pause me right now because it's fun to guess without knowing. But I'm going to show you right now. So you got your guess written. I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to show you. This one is shampoo. So you had a guess. Were you right? I don't know. But you're going to write right here, whatever you did. I picked a specific brand because I needed to make sure it was a brand that existed in the 70s and exists now. Head and Shoulders is a dandruff shampoo. So they had it in the 70s and they have it now. So that actual price tag item was for the shampoo. So in the 70s, it cost about 79 cents. And today it costs $5.99. And actually what I'm going to do just to help you with your future guesses is I'm also going to cross it off here. Okay? Now, let's focus on the mathematics behind this. All right, so here's my price tag. It says right here that I need to find the percent of change. You can choose P over 100 equals A over B. I feel like a lot of us in class and in our work that we're submitting are using the A equals P times B, the percent equation a little bit more, which tells me you guys are good at switching from percent to decimal, which is awesome. If you are good at switching between percent and decimal, I do agree. I think that the equation is a little easier. You can choose though, if you're using P over 100 equals A over B, keep using that. For this, I'm going to zoom in a little so everybody can see my work. We are now going to find the percent of change in the price of shampoo from the 1970s to today. And let's make sure we remember how to do that. Percent means we're looking for P. So here's the tricky part with percent of change. To find A, before I even start this equation, remember I have to subtract these values because A is not supposed to be what it changed to, it's supposed to be the amount of change. How much did it change? So I'm going to take the higher one, today's price, and subtract the lower one, which is, whoops, put that decimal in the right place, that's important. So I'm doing $5.99 minus 79 cents. That means it changed by 5.2 means $5.20, but that is my A value. And I'm okay to use 5.2 in my equation. If I were giving a final answer involving money, I'd want to make it make sense for money. But 5.2 is A, the amount of change. So remember, we are still doing, and I'll write this here, A equals P times B. But on our notes yesterday, we redefined these values a little bit. A is now the amount of change, P is the percent of change, and B is the original amount. Okay, so we know we don't know B. What should be considered the original on these problems? Well, the original would be what happened first. And a lot of these things that I picked, not all of them, but some of them originated in the 70s or started being sold in the 70s. So we're going to say that the 1970s price is considered the original for all of these. What was it before? That's the original. What is it now? That's the new amount. So we had to subtract to get this. And now we've done this a whole bunch of times. So we know when we're looking for P, we're going to divide. And look, I already have 5.2 sitting here in my calculator. So I can just go divide by 0.79. And what else can I do? This is tricky for some students. They want to look at this and they go, oh, it's not a decimal. It's already a percent because there's the whole number. One of the purposes of this practice is just to teach you some stuff about how prices change, but also to get us used to the fact that very regularly with percent of change in these real life percent problems, we often get percents that are more than 100. So that is still a decimal, and I still need to times by 100 to change it back to a percent. So I just left that big decimal in there and just went times by 100. This is actually a 658. I'm just going to round to the 10th place. Okay, and I'll ask you to do that on all these as well. Just give me the nearest 10th of a percent, which sounds weird. I know we're like, it's a percent now. It's not a decimal anymore, right? But you can still have portions of a percent. It's still out of 100. It's still about place value. And the other thing I need to say is that this was definitely a percent increase because that means from the 1970s to today, the cost of Head & Shoulders shampoo has increased 658%, means 6 to 7 times bigger, right? 600% would be 6 times more. So the cost of shampoo has increased by 658.2%. All right, are you ready for the next item? I'm going to give you a new price tag. I'll bring the list back so you can see our options once again so that you can guess. All right, how about we do this one? Here's my price tag. The 1970s price was 35 cents, and today's price is $2.99. So you're going to go back to this work page on item number 2, write down your guess. Go ahead, give it a guess. Pause me right now if you're not ready. Okay, here's the item. Did you guess a box of Kleenex? Whatever you wrote on your guess, it's fine. It doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. It's just for you. That part's for fun. But the actual item, this was, I'm going to write it on my paper and I'm going to cross it off for us. This particular price tag was showing how things have changed for a box of Kleenex. Kleenex has been around for a while. It was a big deal when they invented like people used to actually carry around fabric handkerchiefs, and now it's kind of funny because people do again because we're all about, you know, save the environment and wash it. But people used to carry around fabric handkerchiefs that they had to wash, so it was like this huge deal, like a handkerchief that you can throw away. Anyway, box of Kleenex. Okay, so in the 1970s, it cost 35 cents. Let's find the percent of change now. Again, we have to subtract to find A. I'm going to start with the bigger one and subtract the smaller one. And I'm going to find that from the 70s to now, the price has gone up by $2.64. I know the amount of change. I now need to convert it to a percent of change. All right, so $2.64, that's what I start with. A equals P times B. The original was the 1970s price. Okay, so now I'm going to go divide by 0.35, divide by 0.35. Y'all with me still? I'm going to type this in my calculator. 2.64 divided by 0.35. Don't forget this step. It's easy to look at this and go, oh, 7.5%. No, 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 no. Much bigger change than that. Times by 100. That was a decimal. This is the percent. There was a 754.3% increase in the cost of Kleenex from the 70s till now. And the 70s was like 50 years ago at this point. So 754.3% increase in the price of a box of Kleenex. Big increases here. All right, you ready for the next one? Kleenex is done. Let's guess another one. What about this one? Okay, here's my list. Here's the stuff that's left. This is going to be your guess for item number 3, okay? 1970s price was 10 cents. Today, this item costs 87 cents. Which one, which one, which one? Go ahead and write down your guess on your paper. Which item is this? You ready? The item is the tomato soup, Campbell's tomato soup. Campbell's as a brand has been around for a long, long time. All right, so the actual item that I'm gonna write on my paper is, move this down here, Campbell's, changed blue here on accident. Campbell's, this is actual, Campbell's tomato soup. Maybe your guess was correct, maybe not. But the actual item we're talking about is tomato soup. So find the percent of change. All right, well, the first thing I have to do is subtract. If you don't need a calculator, that's cool too. Like 87 cents minus 10 cents. It's 77 cents. So that might not sound like that big of a change. 77 cents really is not that much. But when you compare it to what it used to cost, that's really what we're doing here with percent of change. We're saying, okay, we know it changed 77 cents, not that much money, but compared to the 10 cents that it started as, how is that change in comparison to itself? That's really a more reasonable comparison to look at because it started as a very cheap item. It still is a pretty cheap item, but compared to what it used to be, is it? And let's find out. So the original was 10 cents. And divide by 0.10, divide by 0.10. And I'm going to go 0.77 divided by 0.1. Again, is that the percent? Is it a 7.7% increase? No, I've got to times that by 100. It is a 770% increase. So again, 77 cents doesn't sound like that much, but when you're increasing 77 cents off of an original of 10 cents, that's a huge percent of change. Percent of change. Okay, we're gonna do one more together, and then I'm gonna explain what we're gonna do. All right, so you get to guess another one here. Here is my list of items. I want to do this one. I feel like maybe you should be able to guess this one pretty well. I don't know, but I'm going to cross off the tomato soup. I've already used that. All right. Check that one out. Huh, that's an interesting one. In the 1970s, this item cost $95,000. Today, it costs $800. What are we talking about? Write down your item for guess. Write it down. Your item for guess. Go ahead and write it down. You got it? Did you guess computer? Did you? If you guessed computer, great. If you didn't, either way, that's what you write right here. It was the actual item was, and specifically it was an HP computer. And now let's calculate the percent of change. So coming back to this price tag here. Okay, the 1970s price. This time the 1970s price was actually higher. Why would that be? Well, it was brand new technology, and when a computer was first invented, it took up way more space and needed way more parts. So it was really expensive. I'm going to go 95,000 minus 800. 94,200. So that is my A value. 94,200 equals P times the original, which is 95,000. Okay. We are going to divide by 95,000, divide by 95,000, and I'm going to type in my calculator 94,200 divided by 95,000. Okay, this looks more like the kind of percents I'm used to. I'm still going to times by 100. 99.2. See how I need to round that to a 2? See how if the next number is a 5, I bump it up? This is a 99.2% increase or decrease. This one is a decrease. One of the few items on this list, maybe the only item on this list, that actually got cheaper over time. And what that means is it's almost, when it starts with something so big, it's harder for you to get like you're not going to get over 100% decrease. Because it started at a certain price. In order to get over 100% decrease, it would have to go into the negatives, which is not really how pricing on things works. But still, that's almost 100% decrease. That means it lost almost all of its value. Not really, it just got cheaper over time, okay? Because we have more of this technology. All right, what you guys are going to do now is you are going to see the other price tags. As you scroll down in Canvas here, you're going to see the other price tags, and it will say item 5, item 6. It'll actually have a number on the price tag as you look at the image there. It'll say item 5, item 6, item 7, etc. And so look at those, and the first thing you're going to do is see if you can guess which one it is. I will also put in Canvas a list of the items that are left, okay? So you'll have a list of the items. You'll see the price tags. You're going to take your guess, and then you'll see what the actual item was, okay? And then actually what you're gonna do is have to take all your guesses and you'll wait until the end to see if your guesses were correct. But I promise you will know by the time you're done if your guesses were correct. But you won't know as you work on them. So you'll guess and calculate the percent of change, guess, calculate your percent of change, finish all of them, flip to the back. There's 12 total items, guess, calculate the percent of change. And then when you're all done with all of that, you can click on the key and not only see, did I do these correctly, but also see, did I guess the right items? All right, and if you have any questions or get stuck on any of it, please ask.